Hello guys, Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM episode number 98. This is a countdown special event between the 8th to the 100th episode for 1,000 episode special event. And today we get into Batman Dark tomorrow Very OddGamer. We have this begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Thank you.
Wow. Very OddGamer and hold on, pause. Batman Dark Tomorrow. Continue on. Title card designs by Noah Tunes. Continue on. Wow.
Hello, Internet viewers. I'm the Fairly Odd Gamer. Let me tell you about a game company called Kemco.
Wow.
Video game developer and publisher since 1984. Kemco
Wow.
is known for the Top Gear series from 1992 to 2006.
Okay.
Which I have no idea about. That also goes with the Kid Clown games, even though I am somewhat familiar with them. However, when it comes to their licensed games, most of them are infamous for producing some of the worst, if not the worst, licensed games for both the classic and modern eras of video games. Superman for the NES, Kemco. The Bugs Bunny birthday blog, Kemco.
By the way, I've seen that from AVGN. Continue on.
The Castle games, Kemco.
Which I saw from AVGN. Once again, continue on.
Brothers for the Super NES, Kemco. Daikatana for the N64, Kemco.
I have not seen some games from Kemco until AVGN show up. Continue on.
Universal Studios Theme Parks Adventures for the GameCube, freaking Kemco.
Which there's 3 out of the 5 games from AVGN, which I saw. Continue on.
So as you can clearly see, Kemco is, for the most part, a notorious video game company.
Uh-huh.
And the worst thing about it, they're still making games to this very day.
Wow.
However, there is one Kemco game that's said to be one of the worst action games of all time, one of the worst GameCube games of all time, and one of the worst, if not the worst, video games of all time. That game is Batman Dark Tomorrow for the GameCube.
Jesus.
Now, why am I doing this game, you may ask? Well, it's because of you guys. I've been asked to cover this game for the channel, and boy, oh boy, this game is something. Is it as bad as everyone says it is? Let's find out.
Right here are
As
two
I mentioned before, the game is published and developed by Kemco. After figuring out that Batman is a DC franchise, we see the title of the game as we head straight to the main menu, with dead silence. Wait for a treat here, guys. I do want to point out that this is not Kemco's first game with the Dark Knight. Their first venture was the video game tie-in of Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker for the PS1.
Wow.
Like the other licensed games Kemco made, it too received negative reception. But anyway, let's get this game started. So at Secret Lab, Ra's al Ghul...
Please note that I brought up the footage for this review, mainly because the entire game is way too dark. Continue on.
along with his daughter Talia, has devised a plan that could change the history of the planet Earth. But that's not all. His plan includes the involvement of Batman, which is vital to his world-dominating scheme. Meanwhile, in Gotham City, Bruce Wayne mourns the loss of his parents via flashback. How about I play this scene in the style of Batman '89?
Whoa! Hey!
Though, just out of curiosity, how many times has that scene played out in the movie? He changes the time of the clock, which gains him entry to the Batcave. One turnaround later, and Bruce becomes Batman as he revs up his all-powerful Batmobile. Wait, what? I can't even hear her. But at least there's subtitles. Also, the credits commence while the cutscene plays out. By the way, I want to point out that the game was written by Batman Gotham Adventures writer and former DC Comics editor Scott Peterson, and was later joined by Kenji Terada, who also happened to direct this game. And if that name doesn't ring a bell, then you might recognize him from his work from the first 3 games of the Final Fantasy series. And the music? It's actually pretty epic. Why is that? Because the music was performed by the world-renowned Royal Philharmonic Orchestra.
Wow.
That has got to be an honor in itself. Anyway, Batman arrives in downtown Gotham City and he comes across a few shoplifters who have just robbed a grocery store. And because he is Batman, he has to beat them up. Let me say this right now. The controls in this game are terrible.
Jesus.
Anyone who's been a long-time GameCube player should know that A is jump, B is attack, and the control stick to move. Well, they got the control stick right, but the other controls are just all over the place. In this game, the controls are as follows. Jump with B, punch with A, kick with Y, and use your items with X. Which items, you may ask? Well, some of them include the batarang to throw at your opponents, smoke capsules that can temporarily hinder your enemies, a finger light that is completely worthless, a universal tool allowing you to pick locks, a medical tech that can replenish you back to full health, and bat cuffs that restrains enemies once they're defeated.
Okay.
But right, unlike other games in which you can move on after defeating enemies, this game requires you to handcuff enemies after they've been defeated.
Wow.
Otherwise, they'll eventually get back up and fight again. Knowing that doing this for the entire game will end up getting tedious after a while. So after defeating the thugs, Batman ascends to a rooftop while communicating with a woman named Oracle, who happens to be the original Batgirl herself, Barbara Gordon.
Okay.
Oracle managed to intercept a satellite signal from an unknown source about a shipment containing large armed weapons. So as Oracle finds the origin of the satellite transmission, Batman has to bat swing his way from rooftop to rooftop all the way to Gotham Police headquarters. It's here where you first use the bat grapple and bat cable. And this is where I had the most trouble because I always thought a grapple hook lets you go up to higher ground like in Barely Outfitted Breaking the Rules and even Larry Boy in the Bad Apple.
Yeah.
But no, the bat grapple only allows you to go up and down. Because of this, I ended up dying a whole lot.
Yeah.
And that's not a beginner's trap. I don't know what is. Speaking of which, if you die at any point, whether by losing all your health or falling into a bottomless abyss, the game is over.
Wow.
But on the bright side, it allows you to choose how you want to use your bat gear. And you have 3 options. 1, play in stealth mode with 10 batarangs and 200 medical kits. 2, play in offensive mode with 20 batarangs and 200 medical kits. Or 3, play defensively with 10 batarangs and 400 medical kits. I'm going with that option. And personally, I find it to be the best option if you don't want to pull your hair out.
Yes.
The other thing you want to do is save your game. The bad news is that it doesn't autosave like in Spider-Man 2. But the good news is you can still save your game whenever you want to. Anyway, you can change your bat gear by pressing left and right with a control pad. If you need more health, pressing down automatically switches to your medical kit, which is vital if you're ever low on health. Even then, let's say you get a hang of these controls. That won't mean anything because of one thing, the camera. You might say that it's inspired by games like Devil May Cry or Resident Evil, but at least those are good games. But a bad game like this would have the camera hinder you rather than help you. Well, you do have a map, radar, that will only help you in this part of the level alone. Okay, it actually does help you on one thing. You see those green spotlights or yellow icons? This shows where an enemy is and how close you are to it. Yeah, did I mention, this game also has elements of stealth. By having Batman sneak by a wall, you can have him peek out of a wall, and that's where you can throw batarangs or a smoke capsule. Eventually, you make your way to the Gotham Police headquarters roof where you find Commissioner Gordon.
Commissioner, must you do that every time?
That's Ron McLaurin doing the voice of Gordon, by the way. In case you're wondering, he was also the voice of the General in Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Wow.
It's a shame that he doesn't have a lieutenant with him. Anyway, Gordon informs Batman about a massive shootout in Gazette Square involving gunmen wearing masks.
Black Mask and his gang of false facers.
Fighting against a lunatic with a dummy.
Scarface and the ventriloquist. Another turf war. I'm afraid it's worse than that. Somehow these clowns got a hold of some pretty high-tech weaponry. Military-grade stuff.
Holy warfare! So after a Michael Bay explosion, Batman heads off to the next area of the game, Gotham City Alleyway. Defeat more enemies as well as cuffing them. Yeah, you don't really defeat anyone in this game. And eventually make it to the Gazette Square. Throughout the game, you'll also find hidden bonus items like CDs that let you unlock game music, and sketchbook pages allowing you to unlock art assets from the extras menu.
Makes sense.
Eventually make it to Gazette Square where you encounter the turf war between Black Mask and Scarface, only to have it be crashed by Batman. After cuffing more thugs, it makes it to the warehouse as it leads to the first boss battle of the game, Black Mask. Let me tell you right now that the battle against Black Mask is the most difficult boss fight I've ever encountered, and that's just the first boss. My best advice is to throw as many batarangs at him as possible while leaning on a wall and jump kick him while also perfecting the Joestar's secret technique. This boss battle literally took me over an hour, but somehow I managed to defeat him.
Wow.
Batman wants to know who supplied the weapons to Black Mask.
Wow.
Luckily, a member of Scarface's gang tells Batman that they were offered weapons to be delivered as long as they took care of Black Mask. And just like Black Mask, the thug also doesn't know who gave him the weaponry. Batman does let the thug go after giving him a sucker punch to the face.
Wow.
On to the next area, Gotham Docks. Just beat up and cuff more goons as you find Scarface and the ventriloquist. Right after climbing up another roof. Luckily, they don't ever fight him in this game, which is actually a sigh of relief considering how difficult the previous fight was. Anyway, Scarface has to shoot Batman down with a Tommy gun, only to fail miserably.
What are you gonna do with that, huh? You overgrown rat dressed like a...
Holy decapitation!
This ain't even gonna slow me down, Gatman. Way I can see get it from up here, and I can think get it.
Holy bullgag!
Wow.
Well, it looks like we're just in time.
Holy sidekicks, Batman! Yeah, Robin and Batgirl are in this game as, I think, backup support for Batman. I feel it's a little bit nice to play as either one of them for an extra mission. But no, just Batman.
Hey dude, did you say sidekick?
Oh hey Ash, what's up?
Nothing much. So what game are you playing?
I'm playing Batman Out Tomorrow for the GameCube.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Gamer, I've heard of this game. It's one of the most bogus games I've ever played. You can't even imagine how terrible it was.
I know, but I have to do it for my fans.
Yes.
Alright. Well, all I gotta say is, good luck. Later, dude.
So.
Anyway, he calls upon Oracle, but unfortunately it leads to some terrible news. He informs Batman that Commissioner Gordon has gone missing and is at the Batman to rescue him. Holy kidnapping! We move on to the next area, the Gotham City Police Department rooftop. Batman runs into two detectives, Harvey Bullock from the original comics, and Renee Montoya from the animated series. It turns out they were sent to find Commissioner Gordon, but to no avail. Not only that, but Gotham City is still trying to recover from the Black Mask Scarface incident. Anyway, he makes it to Gordon's office where he finds a deck of playing cards without any Joker, proving that the Joker was behind the kidnapping. So because of this, he has to head over to Arkham Asylum.
Okay.
How, you may ask?
The streets leading up to the asylum are a mess, and even if you manage to get in, the whole asylum's completely locked down. It would take a tank to get through the front doors.
They'll go in underground. Check the surrounding areas. They'll need a secure location for the Batmobile and an easy access entrance point with a nearby safe house.
This, of course, leads into the abandoned Talbot Factory, which is the next area of the game, after defeating the Thug Gang.
Death comes to all who enter our terrain, even the famed Batman.
Okay, is it just me, or does the gang member sound like he's sick? Because if that's the case, then that's probably not a good voice direction for these thugs. Anyway, you mobilize more thugs and crawl through the vent, which leads you to the next area of the game, the underground sewers. Yeah, some of these levels feel a bit too short, but at least they're not as short as most of the levels from Sonic Forces. So in the sewers, not only do you defeat more thugs, but this is also the only level where Batman can swim. Whenever he swims, it automatically locks into a first-person view mode with a breath meter next to your health meter and cape meter. Oh yeah, did I mention the cape meter underneath your health meter shows how strong your cape is. The more damage you take, the weaker your cape will be. Thankfully, your cape meter will be replenished by standing perfectly still. So as Batman digs deeper into the sewers, he then encounters another villain, the Ratcatcher.
Batman, what an unpleasant surprise.
Am I the only one who thinks the Ratcatcher looks like Guile but sounds like Droopy? But it does lead to another boss fight. Now against the Ratcatcher, but two giant and scary looking.
Oh!
It's
Oh!
strategy
Hang on.
boss fight, except they'll come and go through his.
We play this one more time. No. Not turn it down. Hang on.
Now against the Ratcatcher, but two giant.
Ah! Did I hear that? Why? Do you want?
Scary looking mice. It's
Okay.
pretty much the same strategy as the previous boss fight, except they'll come and go through these side tunnels, so be prepared when a rat comes towards you. After becoming a bat mousetrap, he not only cuts the Ratcatcher, but he also checks Robin on his status.
Get a fix on my location. I've got someone here you need to come pick up.
Wait a second. Are you... You're in the sewers?
That's right.
Oh, man.
And make sure your rabies shots are up to date. Batman out.
And once I get back home, I'm spending time in the showers.
Wow.
Eventually, you'll make your way to the next area of the game, Arkham Asylum.
Mm.
Need I remind you that this is where the bulk of the game takes place at. After opening a large metal door, he informs Oracle that he's in Arkham despite her fuzzy connection issues. But anyway, it's time to rescue Gordon from evil's hands. While you're there, be sure to defeat some inmates as you come across a flooded Arkham and find a scientist, which according to the internet,
We actually found out who she is later on, so I apologize in advance. Continue on.
is Dr. McKee from Batman Gotham Adventures. It's here where he runs into yet another villain from the comics, Killer Croc. By the way, I should point out that we have no contact on who these villains are and what villain to go after next in this game. Well, unless you have the comic book that comes with the game, which I unfortunately do not have. So consider me confused.
He said would come. Who? Joker.
Well, he still remember the deck of cards clue from before. Anyway, the boss battle against Killer Croc can be tough, especially with two factors. Fighting while in standing water, and his drowning attack that can potentially kill you if you don't have the right item chosen. Eventually, you defeat Killer Croc as you pickpocket his cell key in order to free Dr. McKee. But it doesn't happen automatically. Oh no. You have to select the key in order to free her. By pressing up on the control pad, it switches from your back gear to normal gear like keys, cards, and other items. Speaking of which, Dr. McKee hands you an Arkham Asylum pass key, which is required to open a few doors in order to progress through the level. However, you hear a nurse crying for help. From loose inmates whom Batman defeats as he frees both nurses instructed to stay safe with Dr. McKee from earlier. Eventually, Batman finds another area filled with plant life as he gets a call from Oracle checking on him as to whether or not he knows about any whereabouts of either the Joker or Commissioner Gordon, who, by the way, is Oracle's father. So you come across a room where one of the guards is entangled by a deadly plant from downstairs, which also blocks your ongoing path. After defeating the deadly plant, Batman frees the captured guard as the guard tells him about something called a defoliant.
Defoliant?
Yeah, we keep this special stuff on hand around here, you know, just in case we have any problems with poison ivy.
Just out of curiosity, what exactly is a defoliant?
Wikipedia style.
It's a chemical that removes the leaves from trees and plants used in warfare. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
The guard tells Batman that his defoliant is at the other end of the hall by the guard station, and that's where Batman heads to next. So he grabs the defoliant and suddenly Vine Rampage! Actually, this is where he finds Poison Ivy, who somehow is given a houseplant by an unknown sender. And by that I mean a giant plant monster that wants to eat Batman for plant food.
Wow.
And no, I'm not talking about Aubrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors. However, it's actually a pretty simple boss fight. Just unleash as many combos as possible until the plant dies. And cut Poison Ivy by a metal chain. We then move to the next section of Arkham where we find everything frozen, which means Mr. Freeze is our next villain. Be sure to avoid these ice sprays from the walls, and you'll soon find Mr. Freeze himself along with some frozen doctors. Time to fight Mr. Freeze only with a freeze gun that can freeze you to a block of ice.
Yes.
But thankfully, you can freeze yourself by wiggling and jiggling the control stick.
Yes.
And that is the same strategy for the other boss fights. Jump kick and immediately run away. Do that enough times, and Mr. Freeze is defeated. And Mr. Freeze monologue ensues as Batman frees the doctors by smashing the block of ice.
Goodbye, Batman. You can be sure that we will meet again.
And I will be ready.
So the doctors thank Batman for freeing him, but Batman still wants answers about Commissioner Gordon and the Joker, who we now know is locked away in the maximum security wing. Thankfully, one of the doctors, named Jeremiah Arkham, reluctantly hands him the access card to that very area. Also, it turns out that most of the inmates have pledged their allegiance to the Joker. Well, that's why the inmates want Batman dead. After entering another room via high-access security clearance card, he comes across more loose inmates who Batman defeats and handcuffs. And this is where he frees Gordon, right? Nope, he actually finds Victor Zsasz. There's really nothing much to talk about because you pretty much do the same thing for every boss fight. Anyway, he handcuffs Zsasz and... Phantom of the Opera Asylum? Now it's the Joker playing the organ.
And if you watch this Bob show, family opera for you. Continue on.
So Batman now knows that the Joker is not behind all of this, which includes kidnapping Gordon. And by that, I mean having him tied up to a rolling chair. And if you think you'll be fighting the Joker in this game, well, you'd be wrong. Instead, you have to fight an onslaught of inmates who have been tasked to beat up Gordon until he dies. So all you have to do is what you've always been doing since the beginning of this game. Beat them up as well as cuff them before Gordon's health meter depletes to 0.
Killjoy.
So now I must ask, if the Joker was not behind all this, then who is? Well, it's revealed that the real villain of this game is Ra's al Ghul.
Wow.
Yeah, remember him from the very beginning of the game? Probably not. Anyway, not only is Ra's al Ghul shocked to see Batman go through the asylum faster than expected, but it turns out that he was the one who supplied the weapons to both Black Mask and Scarface, and, correct me if I'm wrong, used the Joker as a pawn to kidnap Gordon to Arkham Asylum just to get Batman out of the way.
Precisely. In the meantime, I will offer you some advice. Keep high ground, detective, for my plan is almost complete.
The Joker's cell begins to crumble, but luckily Batman saves Jim Gordon as he tells Gordon that he can't stay at Arkham any longer because the situation has gotten worse. After telling Oracle that the commissioner is all fine and dandy and relaying the info about Ra's al Ghul, he sends Batman and the coordinates to the secret hideout 7,000 meters above ground. This leads to the final area of the game, Ra's al Ghul's castle. While flying above the Himalayas, Oracle can connect to Batman's signal due to a signal jam, I don't know, as he abandons the plane to transition to a new game mechanic, hang gliding. Let's be honest here, besides the boss battle against Black Mask, this is another one of my most hated sections in this game, and it's only trial and error. You have to glide around the glacier without bashing into a wall or obstacle in your path. There's also 1 or 2 times where you're being blown out of control by a wind trying to hinder you in the process. And if you somehow die in this hang gliding section, then you have to do this entire hang glide section all over again. See why I don't like this mission? Anyway, you finally land on the ground as you, what else, defeat more bad guys whether by hand-to-hand combat or by throwing batarangs at them and leaving them handcuffed.
Jesus.
So he makes his way inside where, of course, more enemies to beat up and cuff. But a gunman tells Ra's al Ghul about Batman and sets off an alarm as Batman hides from said gunman.
I want the detective brought to me alive. Daughter,
Wait.
detective brought to me alive.
Is he like Drago or something? Continue on.
Daughter, I know of your feelings for the detective, Talia. I will make him the offer once more. For your sake, I pray he accepts.
Talia begins to daydream about her beloved Batman rejecting the offer of becoming her father's successor to the throne, only to be interrupted by her own father. Don't worry, Talia. You'll soon give birth to another Robin. So after once again cuffing more enemies, he enters the hideout as Talia tries to find Batman via security cameras.
Miss Talia.
Keep watching those monitors.
Yes, right away, Miss Talia.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, at least the actor is better at English than the guy who wrote Yes, Miss.
Wow.
And Talia fixes a small monitor error with no sign of Batman. Eventually, he makes his way to a fancy side of the castle where 2 guards are standing. Cut them up, and you're one step closer to Ra's al Ghul. However, Talia gets caught by Ra's al Ghul, I assume because he was helping Batman, that he cannot abide, and he tells Talia that she'll be with her beloved very soon. But Batman enters the room with multiple demon heads. Now, let me point out something right now because I haven't discussed it until right now. Apparently, this game has more than one ending.
Wow.
And it all lies in the scary room. Surprisingly, this game has a total of 4 endings. One of them being the good ending, and the other 2 being different variants of a bad ending. However, for this review, I'll be going straight for the good ending. But I'll talk about the bad endings once I get to them. By entering the 4th demon head, it leads you to a room where a doomsday device is located. And in order to potentially get the good ending, you have to disarm the device by hacking into it via your universal lock. Once that's done, you then enter the 3rd demon head where you find not 1, but 2 elite soldiers. You defeat both of them, and you immediately fight against Ra's al Ghul, right? Enter Ubu, a master assassin and loyal servant to Ra's al Ghul.
Wow.
And yes, you have to fight him via boss battle. And this is where I have problems with the camera because the view shifts every so often. It honestly feels disorienting to me. If you remember your fights from the previous boss battles, just do the same thing you've always been doing. Eventually, Batman encounters Ra's al Ghul, and he tells Batman about these devices that can cause tidal wave tsunamis via blocks of ice resulting in 1/3 of the Earth's population being washed away, leaving them dead in the process.
Jesus!
Millions will die.
Ah, but those that remain will find themselves heir to a planet no longer in danger of poisoning itself. Its resources will no longer be stretched to the breaking point. Food will be a thing of abundance, especially as the waters recede, leaving rich soil ripe for cultivation.
Jeez, this is like part 2 of this game over and over and over again. Continue on.
Pollution will be cut in half, once again allowing plants and animals to breathe clean air for the first time in centuries. The earth will be renewed, and at last, mankind will have seen the error of its ways, and it will be prepared to accept me as its ruler, once they have seen the glory of the new world. Finally, after centuries, there will be a bright tomorrow, filled with hope and tranquility.
Yeah, you lost me at accepting race as your new leader.
Yeah.
Other than that, should we all live in a world like this? I mean, look at our world nowadays. It's a massive dump fire. Pollution, oil crises, breathing non-fresh air, earthquakes, floods, viruses. Seriously, without the massive state of destruction, the real hero should be this guy, not...
And yes, you're exactly right, Gamer. By the way, he mentioned coronavirus. This is an endemic as of now, by the way, as I'm taping this. And, yeah. And, we live in this earth, and we're still in summer 2022. Hello? Which, by the way, as I'm taping this right now, I'm about to get ready to watch Behind the Music, episodes 9 through 17 on Paramount Plus. But right now, I'm currently taping that which reacts, you know? Episodes 908 through 910. So yeah, there are new episodes Behind the Music coming up, and I cannot watch it unless I finish it up. But that's just me. But anyway, and then yeah, without it, there will be no food, drink, water, you know, milk, juice, you know, all kinds of things, you know. There will be absolutely nothing to eat, nor to drink, nor to make projects for you guys, and everything else, you know. Nor do people fall in love with anything, you know. And I have to agree with one thing, for Gamer, and that is, of course, of making content. You know, I've been doing it for like 15 plus years, and then I want to do some things, you know. Continue on.
Batman. For all we know, he could have had the answer for world peace all along. As a species, we must do everything in our power to make sure that our world is clean, safe, and most importantly, an enjoyable place to live and breathe.
Yeah, good job, Gamer. You did the right thing. Yeah, I have to agree with that, Gamer, so there you go. Continue on.
So anyway, Batman views his offer to world peace and the opportunity to succeed in race as his heir because, get this.
I don't collaborate with mass murderers.
Batman, you know you collaborate with Catwoman, right?
Yeah.
So this leads to the final battle against Ra's al Ghul with a weapon of choice, a sword. Wait, what?
No!
Ra's al Ghul is too weak to fight Batman with a
Ugh! Hang on! What is that? What is that in her whatnot? I don't get that. Continue on.
Decide to use a sword to fight Batman? Seriously, this is how Batman from 1966 fought some goons at one time.
Yeah, I never seen that, but if Bob Show has seen that, Bob Show review, at that time frame, I was a huge fan of Bob Show since 2013. His review show came out in 2012, you know. He'll be like, oh my god, a sword Batman the movie? Must be a Bob Show! That's just me. Continue on.
Let's get this over with. Instead of using a jump kick to knock your opponent down, you only attack with your sword, providing that Ra's doesn't attack first.
Huh?
Now, before I get to the good ending, let's briefly talk about the 3 bad endings I mentioned before. First, there's the worst ending.
Fudge, Cortesia for Rice and Burr. Yeah, I misspelled this YouTuber's name wrong. It's R, lowercase a, capital S, A-N, B-R. Okay, that makes more sense. Continue on.
Batman dies with the device still activated, then Race will not only be victorious, but he'll also cleanse the world by destroying it as promised.
Oh!
Then we have the bad ending, with Batman emerging as the victor, but Race still detonates the devices, therefore cleansing the world by mass destruction.
Jesus!
Oh, and Batman does Darth Vader at the platoon. And finally, we have the not as bad ending, in which Batman dies with the device deactivated. One of the guards tells Race via radio that the device is no longer operational, but the downside is that the world only has 17 hours left. So now let's get to the game's best ending, with Batman as the victor and the device no longer working. Ubu aims his sword at Batman, only to accidentally betray his master, having Race stabbed in the heart. But, the castle has a self-destruct sequence which could murder them all. Batman escapes as Talia and Ubu send Race to the Lazarus Pit to hopefully restore him, right after they say goodbye. As Batman tells Oracle the good news while returning home, Ra's al Ghul has been restored back to full health, ready to fight another day. And thus, Batman has saved the day once again, only for more evil to show up, and he will be ready. He'll be there.
Yeah.
He'll always be there.
Exactly.
So that was Batman Dark Tomorrow. Is it really that bad of a game? Yeah. It's not all bad, but I can safely say it wasn't good either. The only redeeming factors in this game, from what I could tell, are the cutscenes and the overall level design. In other words, the graphics look pretty good for a GameCube title, taking most of the elements from the comics and having them replicated beautifully in game form. There are a lot of cutscenes that give you a breather for a brief moment or two. Not to mention, the music in this game definitely matches the level design and the situation you're currently in. So I say a job well done to the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yeah.
Personally, I find the voice acting in this game passable. Some do a good job voicing the characters, while others need better voice direction. In fact, the guy who voices Batman in this game, Julian Fletcher, does a pretty good job of replicating Conroy's voice for the animated series. Honestly, if Conroy were to somehow retire from his role as Batman, then I think it'd be best to pass the torch to Fletcher, because he really is that good.
Yes.
But sadly, this leads to the 2 factors that ruin the game for me. First off, the Resident Evil style camera, because it can be confusing and even disorienting at times. It doesn't work with a game like this. And the worst culprit is the overall gameplay. Batman moves pretty stiff, and his combat is something I can't even stand. For the most part. I can't even imagine how many times I've tried to cuff an enemy only to have another enemy kick you in the face. It's even worse considering that you have to cuff your enemies in order to consider them defeated, which is a terrible idea to begin with.
Yes.
I also believe that the so-called stealth needs a bit more work. If Metal Gear Solid did it right, then why couldn't this? The radar system is more of a miss than a hit in my personal opinion. And while I like using some of the items, it's the medical kit that really helped me out the most, because I can replenish my health whenever I need to. Overall, Batman of Tomorrow is a game that I personally would not add to your gaming collection unless you're that curious.
Yes.
It's not the worst game I've ever played, but it certainly felt like a marathon just trying to beat this game. And if you really want to beat this game without giving yourself mental or physical damage, then I recommend using a guide, or in my case, watch a playthrough video on your phone while playing this game. At least that's what I did. And hopefully I'll review another good Batman game like Batman Returns. And speaking of good games, I've got to play the new version of a well-received Sonic game. So you probably know what game I'm going to review next. I'm the Fairly Odd Gamer, and I wish you all good luck with the rest of your day or night, wherever you are. Take care, everyone.
The end.
How's it going, dudes? HuxGamer here. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon if you want to get notified for upcoming videos.
Well said, Hux. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and some of my character buddies on TikTok. And if you like, you can have one of my character buddies do a short video for you via video commission. Links to all of those in the description below. So, without further ado, I wish that one of my character buddies finished with the video.
Oh boy, it's my turn to do this thing again. Hello, everybody, it's me, Dagger Duck, and I want you to so much support the channel. And I know if you never played one, I'll be never support you. My newest show, you'll access exclusive content and Travis voice outside to the channel. But that's not all. As you know, we'll be right there on the grades. As far as we right out my way, the main characters on the channel. Yes, once you start, come to two people. May now send a bird or to your special code and flash video. Once more, thank you for watching this video and support the channel. I'll see you all later.
So that was Very OddGamer, Batman Dark Tomorrow. It was amazing, but so far this episode was a successful episode to react. But overall, I just want to say this was an amazing this video to watch. You know, that's the video, of course. And that was LJPCBM episode number 908. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one. It's going to be LJPCBM episode 909, which will be about my reaction video to Very OddGamer. Oh man, that was early. Okay, it's going to be about Friday the 13th Very OddGamer with Shellfire as a special guest. And if you watch this remix, for you, buddy. Now, excuse me, I gotta export this episode along with some other ideas between reaction videos and things like that. That's just me, of course. Till next time, salute Joseph Bob, peace out, baby. We can watch the reaction episode. Till Wednesday, out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. I ask, why me? Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the